This video shook the world, but it begins like any ordinary story. In a small hospital, on a quiet evening, a young couple welcomed their first child into the world. The mother, Anna, had spent months dreaming of this moment. The soft cry, the tiny fingers, the warmth of life against her chest. Her husband, Daniel, stood by her side, tears shining in his eyes. The little girl was named Grace because to them she was nothing less than a miracle. Her arrival seemed perfect. 10 little toes, 10 little fingers, and a steady heartbeat. But life often hides its most unexpected truths in silence, and on this night, none of them could imagine what the doctors would soon discover. For the first few hours, everything seemed normal. Grace slept peacefully, her breaths shallow and steady, the way newborns always do. The nurses whispered gently as they carried out their checks, while Anna and Daniel smiled, holding hands, their hearts full of gratitude. But then, one nurse paused. She pressed her stethoscope against Grace's small body once more, frowning, softly. Something unusual stirred beneath her trained ear, a rhythm that did not belong to a newborn. She did not say anything at first. She only nodded, finished her notes, and stepped out of the room. Anna noticed the look, though. A flicker of worry tugged at her tired heart. She brushed it away, telling herself it was nothing. But deep inside, a quiet unease began to grow, like a shadow spreading slowly in the corner of a peaceful room. As the night deepened, whispers moved through the quiet hospital halls. Grace had been taken for a routine scan, something the doctors said was only precaution. But when the images appeared on the screen, silence filled the room. Inside this tiny baby girl, there was something no one expected to see. At first, the doctors thought it was an error. They adjusted the machine, checked again, and yet the shapes remained. 2 small forms, curled and resting, as if hiding within her. The senior doctor leaned closer, his voice low. "It looks like fetuses. Could it be?" The younger nurse gasped softly, unable to believe what her eyes showed. In that moment, the doctors realized they were facing something so rare, so unthinkable, that it would soon reach headlines across the world. The door opened, and the doctor stepped quietly into the room. Anna looked up, her smile fading when she saw the weight in his eyes. Daniel's grip on her hand tightened, his heart beating fast. The doctor pulled up a chair and spoke gently. "There is something unusual with your daughter. In her tiny body, we see the presence of 2 small masses. They are not tumors, but something even rarer. It seems Grace was born carrying life inside her." Anna blinked, struggling to understand. "You mean my baby is pregnant?" The room fell silent. Daniel's breath caught, disbelief clouding his mind. The doctor nodded slowly. "It is what we call fetus in fetu, an extraordinary condition, extremely rare, almost impossible. But your daughter carries within her 2 tiny children." Anna felt tears blur her vision. She pulled Grace close, whispering softly, "My sweet girl." That night, Anna and Daniel sat by Grace's side, their emotions tangled in ways they could not explain. They had prayed for a healthy child, and now they were faced with something no parent could ever prepare for. Anna stroked her baby's cheek, whispering, "She looks so perfect. How can this be real?" Daniel's eyes stayed on the crib. He wanted to be strong, but inside he felt helpless. What if she's in pain? What if she can't survive this? The doctors assured them that Grace was stable, that she was not suffering. But the thought of their newborn carrying such a burden was almost too much to bear. Through the silence, Grace stirred, letting out a soft cry. Anna gathered her into her arms, pressing her close. And in that fragile moment, both parents knew they would do whatever it took to protect her. The decision was not easy. After many discussions, the doctors explained that Grace would need surgery. The two tiny lives within her could not grow or survive, and if left untreated, they could threaten her own fragile health. Anna wept quietly, holding Grace's tiny hand. Daniel signed the papers with shaking fingers, each stroke of the pen heavier than the last. This was not the beginning they had imagined, but it was the choice they had to make. The day of the surgery arrived. The bright lights of the operating room felt too sharp, too harsh for something so small and innocent. Grace lay quietly, unaware of the storm around her. The doctors whispered to each other, every movement careful, every breath measured. The world outside waited in silence, but inside that room, time seemed to hold its breath for one tiny baby girl. Outside the operating room, the minutes felt like hours. Anna sat still, her fingers trembling as she whispered silent prayers over and over. Each time the door swung open, her heart jumped, hoping for news. Daniel could not sit. He walked the length of the corridor again and again, his thoughts chasing one another in circles. He wanted to be strong, but fear pressed on his chest like a heavy stone. Other families passed by, glancing at the young couple, sensing their quiet suffering. But no words could ease the weight of that night. Anna closed her eyes, whispering, "Please, let my baby live. She is all we have." And then the doors opened, not with tragedy, but with a gentle smile from the doctor, who nodded softly. Relief washed over them like a river breaking free. Grace had made it through. When Anna finally saw her daughter again, her heart overflowed with relief. Grace was small, so very small, but she was breathing peacefully. The monitors beside her beeped in steady rhythm, each sound a promise of life. Anna bent low, pressing her lips to Grace's soft forehead, whispering, "You are so strong, my little girl." Tears slipped freely, but this time they were tears of gratitude. Daniel placed his hand gently over his wife's shoulder, his other hand brushing against Grace's tiny fingers. "She fought," he said softly, his voice breaking. "She really fought." The doctors explained that the surgery was successful. The two small lives had been removed with care, and Grace's future was now brighter. For Anna and Daniel, nothing else mattered. Their daughter was safe, and in that moment, their love for her grew even deeper than they thought possible. Days passed, and with each sunrise, Grace grew stronger. The color returned to her cheeks, her tiny hands moved more, and her soft cries filled the room like music. Anna held her close, rocking gently, her heart finally breathing again. She whispered lullabies, words filled not only with love but with deep gratitude. Daniel sat beside them, watching with eyes full of wonder. For the first time in many days, he allowed himself to smile. The doctors visited often, each time impressed by Grace's recovery. They spoke of her strength, of the miracle she had become. News of her story began to spread beyond the hospital walls, touching hearts far away. But inside that quiet room, she was not a headline. She was simply their daughter, their little Grace, who had already survived more than most would in a lifetime. Months later, the story that once shocked the world had become a quiet memory in the hearts of one small family. Grace no longer lay in a hospital crib. She was home, wrapped in warmth and laughter, her giggles filling the air like the sweetest melody. Anna watched her daughter play, her chest swelling with gratitude. Every smile, every movement was a reminder of the battle Grace had already won. Daniel leaned close, whispering, "She is our miracle, our gift." The world might remember Grace as the baby born carrying two lives inside her. But for Anna and Daniel, she was something much simpler, yet far greater. She was their daughter, their joy, their living proof that hope is stronger than fear. And as the golden light filled their home, one truth became clear. Miracles are real, and sometimes they arrive in the smallest of hands.